Speeding.
019er, this is Alpha Blue. Check, runway 719. This is 0019er, requesting landing. Landing gear is down. We are green for runway 750.
So that's the only way I can get Asher to eat food that, once because he's a hockey player, right? And 5 years old. By the way, if you're going to be watching the show, listening to the show, you're going to learn about hockey at the 5-year-old level. But anyway, so I need him to eat protein, not just carbohydrates. And so we have to save the passengers, right? So I'm doing this on an airplane, and the guy next to me goes, "Are you a pilot?" I go, "No, I'm not a pilot." He goes, "You sound like a pilot." I go, "No, I've just seen movies. It's the way I get my..." He goes, "I don't know, you really seem like a pilot."
Red 1, this is Blue 70 on runway 75 Alpha. We are landing chicken and tomato for Save the Pet.
All right. Carmine, welcome to the show.
Yes. Thank you, brother.
For this show and many of my shows, initially I was inviting people who are very well known, CEOs, the CEO of Skull Candy. We had on a big consumer electronics company, one of the founders of Bitcoin, and one of the owners of the largest number of Bitcoins, probably now a billionaire. But what I learned is what billionaires and 100-millionaires and people running public companies today are doing today is not really applicable to you, right? They wake up, they get in their jet, they fly somewhere, they're picked up in a Yukon or a Denali with security, they go to a conference on Bitcoin, they speak, they fly home, and then they meet Warren Buffett at Mastro's for dinner. That's not what you need to know how to do, right? Yes, once you're successful and you've grown your business and you sold your company, those are the things you're going to do. Look at mansions, buy islands, fly around on private jets, right? Live like Rick Steele, my buddy. But for us, toiling away in the grind, that stuff is not helpful. So I try and get on subject matter experts. And Carmine is a salesman, right? He is a salesperson that has integrity. He's a salesperson that cuts through the noise. He's a salesperson that helps his clients get what they need. And he also doesn't waste time for his company. If you hire salespeople, or you want to become the apex predator, maybe that's the wrong word, right? You want to be at the apex of the food chain in revenue generation. You want to model what's in Carmine's head. Carmine, welcome to the Oren Project today.
That was like the nicest way to say I have a normal guy on the phone.
I know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
dude.
all my billionaire buddies were busy on Mondays, so I'm like, oh my God. I'm just going through my phone like this.
Yeah, he
Come
texted
on.
me 4 minutes ago and goes, "What are you
Ori,
doing?" And
Jack, John, Susan, Jeff, busy. Bev, busy. Rick, usually good, busy. Oh, I wonder what Carmine's doing. Hey, Carmine, can you do me a huge favor? All right. Are you nervous because you're rocking back and forth? Are you getting ready to fight?
No, I have ADD really bad, so
All right.
I'm just thinking about something else.
So we're not going to make Carmine give his bona fides today. Tens of $1 million this year, millions of dollars last year, where his career, because he's going to be a repeat offender on this show because he got so much knowledge. And believe me, once we suck all the knowledge out of his brain, he's going to be gone and the next guy will be in. This show is for subject matter experts. If you can't provide me value, if you can't provide the listener you value, you're out. So, Carmine, and by the way, what did I just do there? I raised the stakes, right? That put everybody on tenterhooks. Oh my God, is this the only show Carmine's going to be on? Carmine has to deliver value. Carmine starts getting nervous. How am I going to deliver value today? I'm just, so raising the stakes is probably the number one thing you can do in sales situations because it lets the buyer know. But we'll get into all that in successive shows. Let's talk. I think a good subject today, Carmine, and something I'm very interested in is the things that can and do go wrong on first calls with a prospect. Things that can and do go wrong with first calls with a prospect. And I think no matter how accomplished you are, like I'm going to get my pen because as much as I have courses on this, I show large companies how to do this, I deal with this myself, there's still mistakes that are coconut. Oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. Because there are so many things to get right on an initial call that you will always do something wrong. And in the attempt to doing things right, you will also line yourself up to do things wrong. So this is going to be about what are some of the things that are obvious and non-obvious that go wrong on first calls. Carmine, how many calls would you say you would have on a busy day?
6.
6, okay. So a call's lined up.
Yep.
Clients agree to the call.
Yep.
Right. Number one thing to go wrong is it's now, the call's set for 1 o'clock. It's now 1:04.
Yep.
What's wrong with you sitting on a conference line at 1:04 and the client not dialing in?
So I give them, okay, so if you haven't read Pitch Anything, go read it. And if you haven't got the Audible, get the Audible, read it, listen to it at least monthly until you have an idea of what Oren's really teaching. So on the first call, it's all about the frame, right? If it's not properly framed and I'm going to wait around for 15 minutes, I have low status and it's over. I will give them about 6 minutes, and then I say, look, we are super busy. We have a lot going on. I can appreciate that maybe something came up. If you want to reschedule, here's a link to my calendar. If you do not, that is totally cool. We'll talk again.
Yeah. So and my magic line, and I've been using this for years, it's just magical. Oh, you guys are here for the 1:04 call? You want to get that one started? And I don't know why it works, but CEOs, private equity managers, guys managing $1 billion, guy managing $10, doesn't matter, right? They're always like, oh yeah, I'm so sorry. My pet hamster just gave birth to twins, and we've been waiting a week since they got pregnant. My goldfish just did his first lap around his bowl. I had to see that. I'm so sorry. But I always say, oh, you're here for the 106 call? We want to get that started. I mean, that is golden. It puts people on notice, hey, we're not messing around here. So, but definitely, the more important the call is, the less you can be waiting around on that call for them to let you know when the call starts, right? And by the way, if you go to Silicon Valley, where they are absolute ninjas on time, right? Things start on time, they end on time. You could do, if you have a call from 10 o'clock to 10:15, I think you can attest to this, Carmine, in Silicon Valley, that call starts at 10 and it ends at 10:15. If you want to start at 10:05, go ahead, but you're not getting an extra 5 bonus minutes because you were late. Like, they are fruit ninjas on time. Wall Street, the same. Why should you be any different? Are you any less deserving or any less quality of a company than the companies in Silicon Valley on Wall Street? No, you're as good or better. So one thing that can go wrong is just the starts to slip. And I'll tell you something we'll do is we always get their mobile number, right? And then as, if it's 103, 104, Allie will just text status to whoever's supposed to be on the call, and that can jog a reminder, oh, blah, 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 I'm so sorry. So anyway, you got to get them on the call, right? Them not coming to the call is the first thing that can go wrong. So is that fair, Carmine? Can we agree, like, not having the call is the first thing that can go wrong with the call?
That's usually a pretty good sign of the call not going well.
All right.
You don't have it.
They dial in, fumbling. For you, what's number 2 biggest thing? I know what mine is.
So we set the agenda. So the call is my call. So they may get on and go, okay, here's what I want to know, or tell me all this, and I go, cool, that's great. Let me tell you how the call goes.
Yeah.
I'm going, and I have, that's scripted, right? So if you have a sales team or sales process, it should be scripted. And we set the agenda with the client, so they know how we're going to run the call.
So I talked about this the other day in terms of email, but if you listen, it's for calls as well. If you listen to a radio, right? Radio is very good about establishing what the agenda is, right? 5 minutes before the hour, you get weather. On the hour, you get traffic. 2 minutes after the hour, you get news, right? Then you get some kind of content show. 15 minutes, you get a quick news break. Like, there's not, especially if you listen to BBC or whatever, it goes beep, beep, beep. And just like Pavlov, everybody stops moving, listen up for the news, right? So radio is very good about setting that architecture for what things are going to happen sequentially, progressively, and expectations are really well set. See, on a website, it's so visual, or on like the cover of the New York Times, the actual newspaper, right? You could see the architecture. The biggest stories are at the top of the front page. Got bin Laden, right? That's going to be top dead center of the first page. Carmine launched a new business, right? With a financing from Kleiner Perkins. That's going to be at the last page, if at all, right? It's not national news. So, and so on the left column is the most important, right bottom is the least important. Page 3 is interesting but not critical. Like, you know the architecture in a newspaper, you know the architecture in a magazine. They're not going to put the least important story up front. You definitely know the architecture on a website, right? There's a button because people say, hey, this information needs to be above the fold. But in a phone call, there's no architecture. So you have to set a scripted agenda. Now, I personally don't like saying, look, here's the agenda, because it seems a little like trite. But how do you, by the way, for me, setting the agenda is probably, or not having an agenda is probably the third thing that can go wrong. I want to tell you my second thing, which is tactical. It's a pet peeve of mine. But anyway, we'll come back to it. So instead of saying, hey, look, here's the agenda, how do you set it without being sort of...
I say, let me tell you how we run the call. I'm going to start by asking you a few questions about your business so I can understand if we can help, and if so, how. Then I'm going to tell you a little bit about our business and how we work with 300 financial advisors and professionals. You can ask me anything you like, and then at the end of the call, you're going to let me know if this makes sense for you or not.
Yeah.
So it's just a loose, I want them to know that we're in control.
And I think the big thing is raising the stakes and saying this, I'm not an information booth. I'm going to give you information. I'm going to walk you through how we work, how I think it works for you. I'll give you a quick, clear understanding of what we do, why we do it, how it works. At the end, I'll give you some time to tell me a little bit how it fits for you, or if you want to provide any additional color, and then let's figure out if we're right for each other, right? If our circles overlap, if we should go forward. And that part will be pretty obvious. But that raises the stakes that this is not, I'm going to give you a bunch of information with my time. Nothing wrong with giving information, by the way. Like, I'm not mean. I'm going to give you some information with my time. I'm going to invest some time in you. Then we're going to have a little bit of discussion, and then we're going to figure out if we're right for each other. That raises the stakes. This is not one-way communication. Two-way communication and a decision. So here, I think that's absolutely correct. The second thing for me, Carmine, this just sets me off. Bad connection, somebody calling from the car, somebody calling from a coffee shop. I'll just go, hey, look, when you're somewhere stable, let's, in your office, like I am in my office, taking a business call, taking it seriously, investing time, energy, money in you, and you're done getting a almond croissant and a cortado, right? Let's set up a real call. And I know that's hard, right? You're trying to win a client. You're Pipsqueak company and they're IBM. You jump on the call with one of their purchasing managers, and he's in a coffee shop or in a train subway. He can't hear you. You can't hear him. That's just where he happened to be when he took the call. Carmen, how do you deal with that? I understand when it's just a sales call, but when it's a call you really
yeah, but it's
want.
not just so. And I'm with you 100%. It's never just a sales call for me right now. We treat every one of these very importantly because they're driving the front end of the revenue. If they're in if I can, you could tell right away if they're in their car and it's going in and out, or if they're in a Starbucks, and I just say, hey, look, maybe it's not the best time for you, but I have set aside 45 minutes for this call. I think it'd be best if we just reschedule when you're somewhere a little quieter, or you can focus 100%.
I think there's no magic to it. I did the same thing. I'm like, hey, I'm really excited to talk to you guys. This is really interesting. If we did find a way to us being able to work together, and I'd be really excited and we'd lean into it. But it's just so much noise, and it sounds like you just got caught on the road. Why don't we reschedule this for a time when we can both focus? Because I think the things we're going to talk about here are important enough that we can set aside some real time. Happens to me, I sort of find a way to let them off the hook. Happens to me too. I get caught on the road, jump on a call, my calendar pops up. Oh yeah, you've got a call with IBM. I'm finishing up a late lunch. I'm picking up my little boy. He had a hockey game. Just urgent and important intersected, and it just became bad time. Why don't we reset this call? What does tomorrow look like? And here's what I know. If somebody goes, this is the only time I have, let's just do it. If somebody goes, well, I don't know, it's really hard to get on my calendar, this is tough. But my sense of it is normal people who actually have the problem that you solve, that really need to become a customer of somebody, to be right for you, go, yeah, I totally understand. Why don't we reset it for Tuesday? Shoot me a couple times, and tentatively let's do 3 o'clock. Abnormal people go, this is the only time I have. It's do or die. Let's just do it now. I know what it seems like. Like, hey, that's a very busy person. He set aside time for me. This is the time. I'm telling you, normal people go, yeah, I'm in a coffee shop. This is not ideal. Let's reset the time. You have to believe that. And I know it's hard because having a live client that can give you $1, $100,000, $1 million on the line seems like the ultimate opportunity to just plow through it. How are they really going to listen to you and have a conversation? How are you going to hear them? How are you going to focus if they're in a Starbucks, in the world's busiest Starbucks in Manhattan? So that to me is if there's not the ability to communicate. And by the way, you have to research this thing, and I've done it 100 times on this show, something called sound blocking, right? If there's an echo, a slight delay on the echo, and you hearing your own voice back, or you're talking and noises are coming at you, you can't put your thoughts together, right? Jeremy, can you Google that? So by the end of the show, it's called sound blocking or sound cancellation. I forget what the term of art is, but literally, if you hear a slight echo in your own voice, you cannot vocalize. Like, they test this, right? They do in the Army. There are all kinds of videos online. Noise blocking, sound canceling, noise canceling, call canceling, whatever it's called. But you literally cannot form thoughts when your own voice or sounds are echoing back at you. So even though you want to do that call with IBM, you functionally cannot. All right, so they don't show up to the call. The call quality is terrible. You can't hear yourself think. You can't form thoughts. There's no scripted agenda. So what's the fourth thing? I mean, we haven't even started pitching yet. Like, I'm telling you, we could do this. This is only a 22-minute call. We could do this for hours. The number of things that can and do go wrong on the first phone call probably number up into the 50 or 60. Carmine?
So I'll back up because I do prep for my calls. So
wait a second. There's one salesperson, this is pretty cool actually, called the Olympic Committee and the Nobel Prize Committee. There's a salesperson on Earth, the planet we live on, that preps for his phone calls. And he is on, hey, lock your doors. You do realize people are going to Google your name and run to your house and trying to give you an award? You're going to be on the cover of Forbes magazine. Like, a salesperson that preps for his calls. Can you believe that? That is amazing. Thank you.
So I am a shoot from the hip cowboy, but I have forced myself to prep for calls. 5 minutes before, there's a little bit of quiet time. Play music you like, whatever. Clear your head. You're not, I write things down. I'm not trying to get a yes. I'm looking for a gap. I'm high status, right? Like, I've read your book several times, Oren, and now I'm starting to understand that framework. And so I prep for a call prior. I read any information they send into us.
Yeah.
I don't do a ton of research on their website and all that because I just don't. I can look at them, but that's about it.
What Carmine just said is really interesting to me, where he goes, I don't do a ton of research, because here's a phenomenon that happens to me all the time. We used to prep quite diligently for calls. We'd read the information, go over their PDFs, read their business plan, look at their product, go to their website, right? And, unless it was Oracle or some big company, we get on the line, and we go, yeah, we've been through your information, we've gone to your website, we went through the PDF you sent, we read through your white papers, and they go, yeah, we're not really doing that anymore. Like that, right?
Yep, all the time.
And so, we're not doing that project anymore. Oh, we've shifted. Or if it is Oracle, IBM, large company, they go, yeah, we sort of solved that problem, right? We want to talk to you about something else. So I find, like, over-investing in the materials they send you, can just be many times a road to nowhere. So no prep is something that can go wrong. Over prep is something that can go wrong, right? Because you've wasted your time and you've prepped for the wrong thing. Low status, something that can go wrong. Let's see. I mean, I think, yeah, keep going. What's next?
Okay, so when we get into the call, so for me, we're really good at what we do, okay, and we know it. So you got to have that confidence.
Yeah.
But what's next for me is I am going into a deep dive on questions to them because I want to know their pain point or their gap. I need to understand where they're at, where they want to go relative to what I'm talking about, and what is stopping them. What is the gap that's stopping them from getting what they want?
So is a problem is they're not willing, so they'll just go, hey, we want to just learn more about you.
Yes.
You know, we're trying to find this broad solution, and you're looking for a pain point. I mean, I just had a client like this. Like they're like, yeah, we just really not, we're excited about using you, but we don't really see anywhere where we're having trouble.
Can't go anywhere.
They're on the call for some reason, but they won't tell you what the pain they're having is. So no pain, right?
So sometimes I get a guy will say, I don't have a sales and marketing problem.
Yeah.
And I go, cool, what do you want to talk about for 45 minutes? Like, do you like, Toronto Raptors? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Because I got nothing for you.
The Bruins.
The Bruins, yeah, whatever. What do they want to do? Cars?
So let's follow that through. They're not really being articulate about the problem. And then you got to figure out, are they hiding it from you because they know that's good information, or do they, like, where does that go when you run into that?
So it usually cracks at some point if you're good at asking questions. So I go, cool, well, how'd you hear about us? What made you resonate with the message you heard? Was it something in your business that you felt like, hey, if I had that, it would help? If you don't mind me asking, generally, where are you at with revenue? And I'll just dig into some questions, and usually, if you're good at questioning, you'll find the pain point.
So generally, I don't, I think we differ here because I don't ask softball questions, right? Like, hey, How did you find us? I mean, I don't care, right?
Yep.
You found us, like, because time is a ball of wax choking on a splinter. Those aren't the exact words. Let's look up Beck lyrics. Beck lyrics. So time is dying. So how you heard about us, why you called, did you dial 011 from Italy on the international line? Are you watching the Bruins games? I don't know. I try not to waste any time on softball questions, so I will go, listen, I think, if I can't find the pain or problem really quick, I go, what is it that we could do for you that would make a big difference and make your life, business a lot easier? And I feel like if that doesn't trigger in them, well, I don't know where else to go. So no pain, no problem. Every once in a while we run into that, and this is the mistake. This is the problem, is if you start pitching, if you start talking about your features, your benefits, your product, your services, your solution, without them really describing what that pain or problem is, right? Hoping that's going to trigger an interest, that's a road to nowhere. That's not going to end up anywhere good, right? So the problem is pitching without understanding what you're selling into. Okay, what's next? What else can go wrong?
What else can go wrong? What else could go wrong? Sometimes they will try and take the alpha position in the call.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. Like, well, I'm not going to tell you that number, or I'm not here to buy right now. I'm just doing due diligence.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You're the master at reframing that.
So I'm just making a note here. I'm not here to buy right now.
Right.
Just getting information. If you're in sales, if you're an executive, if you exist and you're standing on earth and you're in business, you've heard that before and it freezes you. right? Because on one sense, this is not a good call to be on. In another sense, maybe if you give them enough information, they'll tip over into being a client. I mean, that's what you're for, to tell people about your... So how do you deal with this problem? I'm not here to buy right now. I'm just getting information.
Yeah. I'm just here to get information. Okay. Let me, I go back into questioning. Let me understand, what information are you looking for and why?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why are you on this information hunt? And what is it you're trying to solve? Again, I kind of want to go back to this. I think of myself right now as a physician. And if someone walked into a physician's office like, hey, doc, I don't have a problem. I just want to get information on the latest drugs. I'm like, doesn't really work that way. What's going on? And if they can't tell me, I'm okay to shut it down.
Okay, so a million things going on there. But for me, one of the best things that, what I'm triggering off of is you have to be okay to shut it down, right? None of this stuff, we can't help you. Carmine can't help you. I can't help you. I mean, I don't know if there's a better sales guy than me, but who knows more about this? Dan Pink can't help you. Like, nobody can help you if you're not willing to shut it down. And sales think we have to be fair. Guys who just call repeatedly, guys who just give out information, guys who stick with the client as long as they need, they do close sales at some level, right? But I think they're spending a huge amount of time chasing the weak sales and miss out on the strong sales. So if you're not willing to shut it down, then none of this matters. Just chase, discount, spend time. But I think you find the ones you close are pretty low margin, low quality clients, right? If you're not willing to shut it down, you're going to end up with low quality clients. So then that leads me into, and the most powerful thing you said to me, taking notes, Carmine, is I am not afraid to say to a potential prospect, you're confusing. Most of the time, a client comes in, prospects come in, boom. In my business, they need $10 million. Very straightforward, right? They know what they want to do with the money. They know how much they're willing to pay for the money. They know when they need the money. They know what will happen when they get the money. They know what will happen if they don't get the money. And there's good clarity. But you're confusing. Some things are out of line here, right? It's okay. You could tell me what's really going on. So if I frame it as not normal, and I know it's not normal, and the things are saying don't pattern match to something that makes sense, and I'm an expert in this, then I can ask the question, what's really going on? Oh, well, blah, 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 and then the real story will come out. But you got to get, so the thing that can go wrong is not getting the real story. Like I said, we could just do this forever. I want to touch on one or two more. Let's do one more from me, one more from you. Then I got to go back to the coal mine. I have a job. This is not my job. It's something I do for fun and profit.
Next one I get every once in a while that I will shut down pretty quick is they want to get into competition comparing.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that.
And I don't play that game anymore.
So how does that go? But how does that go? What does that sound like?
So I have a playful way that I do my calls. So a lot of the, and you do too. So a lot of the playfulness I can do, some other people don't do.
Yeah.
Okay. But
by playfulness, it means you juggle, you tell cat jokes.
Both. Cat jokes while juggling, typically. But I just don't entertain me talking about what they perceive to be my competition. Yeah. So if I'm going to be playful, I may go, well, we don't have any because we're the best on the planet. And if you haven't seen that yet, and kind of joke that way.
Yeah.
But I will steer them. I will never answer to tell me about your competition.
Oh, yeah. That's a nonsense question, right?
Nonsense.
But here's the way I would do it. If you want to, if you're not playful, if you don't know what to do with that, here's an architecture that will really work, right? Hey, tell me about your competition, or, we're looking at a couple different companies, and I go, and by the way, there's when it really matters, and you're out for one pitch for $20 million, right? And they go, give us a competitive breakdown, and that's expected, and you have to do that. That's different from sales. That's pitching.
Yeah.
When you're expected to do that, there's a breakdown of how to organize the market to frame up the competition. That's not what this is, right? This is in sales, and the issue is, hey, we're looking at Acme Company. You look very similar to the Jones Company and the Smith Company and the Bob Company, and that's it. How do we tell the difference between you guys? How are you better, right? And you go, listen, I think if so you say, I think if you really open the hood on all those companies, it's really going to boil down to three options, right? One is Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, IBM, McKinsey, Skadden Arps, HarperCollins, whoever the leader is in the market, right? And number two is there's always a guy in your town, in the strip mall accountant, mall attorney, home publisher, something. There's always like the sort of can do it, but do it a little bit better than do it yourself, but not enterprise. And then there's us, right? So there's the guy in the mall, there's McKinsey, and then there's us, right? So in the enterprise, best of class, middle market, that's us. In the Costco, right? That's Smith, Jones, Johnson, Fred, and Susan. And those guys are all good in the do-it-yourself cheap category. And by the way, if you want to use one of those guys, if you're looking for the Costco version, the Walmart version, I'll send you there. John and Smith are probably the best guys in that market. I'll make an introduction. But you got to tell me, right? I want the cheap one. And I'll send you there and I'll set you up. If you have $1 million to walk in the door, you go to McKinsey. Write them a check, get started, right? And we really can't and don't compete with that because we're not $1 million. But in the center market where it's cost effective, it's proven, it's straightforward, right? That's us. So that's how I think about it. And that's really your decision matrix.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we teach. So we do a lot of sales training for financial advisors. Exactly the way we teach them.
Oh, is this the part where you're plugging yourself? Go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry, everybody.
A little bit.
We're gonna do a 5-minute commercial now with Carmine for his company.
Is my website showing up or anything?
Nice.
No.
No.
But no, we teach them that same thing: is lay out the lane of the competition and then push them all aside. It's exactly what you just did.
Yeah. So I said I was gonna give you one, but that was a huge one, and then myself.
This is where you take it away from me. You're just gonna jump in and.
When they start to go, hey, this all sounds really good. I love it. I got to go to my partner. I have to go to the committee. I have to go ask. I have to apply for budget. I have to see where we are with budget. Is something, right? Right? I have to go ask my partner. It seems like something that you probably get. Where do you take that?
Okay. I feel this out a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of this that I feel out. If they are real, I will give them room.
Yeah.
Okay? But I will be the alpha on the room, meaning that's cool. When are we setting up this next call? I'm not going to let this go over 2 weeks. Like, we're putting a time on the calendar. Yeah. We have clear next steps. If they're not real, and if you can't sense that, you've got to be able to sense it. If they're not real and I feel like they're excusing, trying to get off the phone with an excuse, I will push them away.
Yeah.
So that comes with a little bit of reps, so you got to get reps in to know real and fake.
Yeah, pattern recognition. Okay, without solving, let's just list a couple other ones that we don't really dig into. So that's 11. What else can go wrong on a call? I'll give you one. Boom. Halfway through the call, somebody unmutes themselves that you didn't even know was on the call. Random unmute.
I'm handling that with a joke, but...
Yeah. What else can just happen?
What else can just happen?
What else can go? Mistakes. What can you say? What can you say?
I've had people get upset with me on calls.
Really?
Yeah.
For what? You're a nice guy.
I am a nice guy, but because I don't do what they want me to
Yeah.
do, so they think I'm being
Yeah.
something. And usually I've had this happen, and I go, look, I've had people get real upset actually, and I go, hey, Oren, like this just doesn't feel right now, and I'm totally good if we press pause or shut this down.
So-
and
I'll tell you what I think that is. I think, because of the internet, you get people from all over, all walks of life, all kinds of situations. And so, you live and I live in a community where our kids go to the schools in the community. We have banks and lawyers and accountants and circulate with a certain sort of caliber of individuals in our community, in our business community. We work with each other. And so we project the world that we live in on the buyers. And they can come in from totally unscrupulous, unfair, tax cheating. They don't even have to be tax cheating. They can come in from a totally different kind of environment, right? And we project our world, which tends to be honest, fair, not greedy. We don't over-negotiate. We don't fatigue buyers. We try and let everybody have a good outcome. And some people don't come from that world. When we project on them that sense of fairness, they don't come from that world. It can go. It can be really confusing, and their behavior can be confusing. So we can project on other people our world. So I think another thing that can go wrong is that it's not just that they have to go to committee, but they're not in the decision-making. At the end of the call, they go, hey, look, my boss just asked me to find this information. Like, this is the most discouraging thing that happens. My boss just asked me to get some information. I'm going to package it all up and give it to him. That's a huge mistake, and that's on you, spending 45 minutes with somebody who's not in the decision-making line, right? And there's ways to deal with that, but we don't have time to go into it on this call. Anything else, jumps to mind that is really in your mind that can really go wrong?
no, what
Okay,
I will say this.
technology goes bad, right?
Yeah.
Your slides don't show up. They can't dial in. We talked a little bit about sound communication. So
Yep.
the tech goes bad. Let's see. What else can happen? I know. My subject matter expert, like the guy I rely on for the call, is late on my side. And I'm just left talking about weather and sports and asking all the softball questions, texting my guy, hey, where are you? So the guy who really can take, maybe this isn't usually first call, but this is second or third call problem. The guy can really move it forward on my side, my subject matter expert, accountant, a lawyer, tech guy, in a deal is late. And I'm trying to fill the gap. And that is, a self-created disaster. What else?
My process is way different than it used to be. That seems to be the one.
Yeah. This is bad. It's a competitor, right? Or just somebody, like for us, and I'm sure this happens to you too, people want to see how we sell, right? So they're just calling to put us through the paces, right? And you have to be able to detect that. Or they call our salespeople, right? And really walk them out on the plank, or whatever better expression there is, to see how we sell, to see A, if we're as good as we say, and B, so they can learn from our process for free. These are more, obscure things, but, like I said, if I listen to a call, I can find 15, 20 things going wrong in the first 2 minutes. And I know you can too, even if you're just listening in, because we intuitively it's hard to sell and to pitch, but when you listen to it, you can pick up on the things going wrong pretty easily. So I think also listening to tape. Oh, by the way, do not tape somebody unless they've agreed to be taped. Hey, Carmine, we're recording you today.
I'm recording you too.
Oh, I did not agree to that. I did not agree to that.
Audio and video. I do record my sales calls and my guys' calls, and we do listen to them.
Interesting. Yeah, but you tell the clients you're recording?
Every time.
Okay. That's, first of all, I think that's required by the FCC. It's required by the Food and Drug Administration. It's required by the United States, by Interpol, by the United Kingdoms of the Earth, by all alien civilizations. You cannot have a phone call somebody and record it without them knowing, please.
Yeah,
On that
if
note,
you're ever going to do it, you got to let them know up
Gotta let
front.
'em know.
Absolutely.
on that note, those are the 12, 15, 16 things. I think we got up to 15 that can go wrong in the first few minutes or during a sales call. Make your own list, take these things, fix these things, and be well on your way to getting to a second call, closing the deal. I have to go back to work, go to the coal mine. I want to thank all the people who were involved here. First of all, Oren Claff, thank you for... Carmine, thank you for going on the call. We have our producer, Jeremy. We have our project manager, Allie. We have Gabriella in production, Andy in narrative and writing, Virginia in production. I have to get a list of all the people, but this is not a one-man, two-man effort. Thank you for everybody involved in the show today. Thank you for you as well. Jump over to our Instagram and our iTunes, the Oren Claff Project, Oren Claff on Instagram. Lots of this stuff and more, and we will talk to you tomorrow.